do not watch Slam Dunk. You should read it instead. Baka, ooh, ooh. Hey, Manga Tuesday. Welcome back to Manga Tuesday, episode 130. I'm the one they call the DRC, and today we shall be talking about Slam Dunk by Takaway Inoue. Correct pronunciation. Slam Dunk is a highly regarded shonen basketball series, 31 volumes. I read it very recently and enjoyed it very much so. So today I'm just going to ramble a bit about some things about it that I'd like to ramble about. But later on I will circle back to my initial point of why I think the manga is better than the anime. But you can trust my expert opinion on that, because I have a lot of expertise in the area, having not watched the anime or the new anime movie, and having only read the manga. I know what I'm talking about. So, personally, I have not read many sports manga before Slam Dunk. Only the two, in fact, Ping Pong and Hurricane Receive, one of which is really good and the other of which is pretty mediocre. Also, personally, I'm not a huge fan of basketball in general. I don't hate it, I don't mind the aesthetics of basketball, but actually sitting through and watching a professional NBA game is excruciating, and I hate it when I'm with someone and they're watching a game and it drags on for 4 fucking hours of shit! And But I guess that sort of brings me to my first point, is that even if you aren't a huge basketball fan, I think you can find a much great enjoyment in this manga, as I'm not a huge basketball fan. I don't follow it at all. I don't hate it, but I hate it sometimes. But I loved it in manga form. Now, while I'm not a big-time basketball fan, I would consider myself a sports fan in general. I don't have a wide array of sports that I follow, but the sports that I do follow, like AFL and MMA and beach volleyball, I follow passionately. And so, like I said, while I'm not a huge basketball fan, I am a sports fan, and I think that helps me appreciate just sports in general. And so I do wonder if, because there are some people out there that don't watch any sports, how they would feel about a series like Slam Dunk. Would they be able to find enjoyment in it? Because you do meet some people that dismiss sports as a whole as, this one's a silly idiot for running around hitting the ball. It's pointless and meaningless and so stupid. But no, you're stupid! You just don't get it. If you don't get it, it's fine. But if you don't get it, you don't get it. And so I wonder if all the nerds that like anime that don't get real sports, if they can appreciate Slam Dunk. And I'm willing to bet they probably can. Which probably means if they expanded their minds, they would be able to appreciate actual real sports too. But they're too unexpanded in their minds. I think they call it narrow. And the manga's not just about basketball, but also it is, in a way. Early on, the first 10 or less volumes, there's a lot of other stuff going on, like a lot of training and whatnot, but some other delinquency. That's the word. And so there's some other things going on, and you get backstories and whatnot and stuff. But later on in the manga, it definitely does start to be like you'll get a big game, and then game after game, it feels just like game after game after game after game. And just like a little bit in between, of training and some other interpersonal development in between the games. But later on in the manga, the games take up the main focus, and they are exhilarating and captivating and enthralling, and I read this very quickly. I haven't read a manga this quickly in a while, because every time I'd finished a volume, I was like, I gotta know what's coming next. Sometimes I had to stop myself. I'd read like one volume at night, like I'll read one before I go to bed, and I'd be like, I want to read another one. It's like, no, just just settle down. Just, okay, don't savor it a little bit. We can rush our way through it, but we gotta, just chillax a little. Save some for tomorrow. Okay, Darcy. And the way the games play out is so masterfully done by Inoue. He really seems to have a good grasp and understanding of how the way sports play out in general. The ebbs and flows of the games, as things swing back and forth. He does such a good job of portraying it. I can't personally speak to the specifics of the techniques on the basketball court because I don't know them well enough, but from doing a little bit of research, it does seem to be pretty accurate and realistic in a sense. I mean, obviously, I don't know if I mentioned that, but it focuses on a high school basketball team, so their playing level will be that of a high school basketball team, and obviously it was over 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago when the manga started and was published, so minor rule sets might be slightly different, and playing styles might not be applicable today for those basketball aficionados out there that are up to date with the modern game. There may be some slight differences in, like I said, techniques and play styles and whatnot, but I think for the time and for the level of a Japanese high school basketball team, I believe, from what I've learned, that it's pretty realistic. And I think that's a testament to the manga in general. It's a pretty realistic portrayal of sports. It's down to earth, and things have consequences, right? If you got a player that sits out for 2 years of action and then returns to the game, they may still have some of their natural ability, some of their slick skills, but there will be drawbacks. Their cardio may be affected, and this is for all players and things. They're not superheroes. It's a grounded portrayal. Actions have consequences, and the main character Sakuragi is a rookie, very new to the game, and I got the sense early on as I was reading it, like, oh, we're gonna watch this newbie, this rookie, rise and become the greatest player of all time. And you will get nothing of the sort. I mean, that would be unrealistic and just out of control. Instead, it's a very real portrayal. But yes, like I was saying, I feel like the way the games play out from a sporting perspective is pretty realistic. And like the momentum swings, for example. Momentum can be huge in sport. As someone that, watches sports, you can see it, but also as someone who played, not since I was a teenager, obviously, many, many years ago now, but I played some sports, hockey, but I played at a somewhat of a high level at times. I represented my state at the national tournament on more than one occasion, so, I have some experience with sports. So naturally, as an experienced athlete, my opinions are worth much more than yours. They're much more reliable. I know what I'm talking about, so you can trust me. But yes, momentum is huge, and it's when a team starts getting on a roll, it's suffocating. You can feel it, the pressure on you, or as you're watching your favourite team, you can feel the momentum swinging and the crowd roaring, and it's like, oh! And it's things like that Inoue captures so artfully and perfectly. Another thing that he captures that I like is the heightened importance of all the games, because it's easy to just dismiss and disregard as it's just high school basketball, it's not really that important, who cares, whatever, blah blah blah. But like I said, for those of you who may have played sports when you were younger like me, when you're a kid and you're playing sports, no matter what level you're playing at, it's the most important thing in the world to you. And that's just relatable and realistic. Back to Sakuragi. He is our red-headed main protagonist, a new rookie to the game. And something Woody pointed out about how he was, I can't remember exactly what he said, but was frustrated, where it seemed like Sakuragi was making progress and then he'd just go back to being a dumb idiot. And that was actually something that I sort of noticed and noted as I was reading the manga. I was like, man, it feels like he's starting to make progress, and then, yeah, the attitude problems he has persist and he'll do some dumb things. But I think, once again, that's sort of is consistent with this realistic portrayal, you know. Sakuragi's growth as a player, both skill-wise, but also a big problem with him is his attitude, his mentality. But the growth is a slow and gradual one, and even as the manga concludes, it's still ongoing, you know. We don't see the finished product of Sakuragi. He makes incredible leaps and bounds and improvements, particularly obviously in skill, as being someone that's never played the game and playing the game. But even in his attitude and his way of playing the game, he's made improvements. But there's still many more improvements to be made off the pages that we will never see. While some of his stupid decisions or whatever, his idiocracy, first of all, makes for some great comedic moments, which I think is also a very strong point of the manga that I haven't mentioned yet. It is hilarious at times, as much as the action-packed excitement of the games is such a drawing factor. The hilarity with all the gorillas is funny. Back to my point of Sakuragi's stupidity at times. His stubbornness, his strong-headedness can also be a positive and a negative. So, you know, he's a very emotional player, and it can impact him negatively when he gets in his own head and starts being stupid. But it can also, he's determined, very determined, and that helps him at times. And also, he grows to become a great, I think, motivator for the team. They feed off his infectious energy. I did wish at times, though, that someone would pull him aside, and maybe the coach or someone, and give him a bit more of a proper talking to and be like, hey, snap out of it. This is a team game and you need to be a team player. But that goes with the manga as the whole. The coach, his coaching style, he seems to be a little more sit back and let the players sort of realize what they need to do themselves in a lot of ways. Just give them the tools they need and guide them in the right direction, you know. Which is more effective? Telling someone, hey, you need to do this and do this, you're doing this wrong or that wrong. Or opening their eyes to realizing themselves, like, hey, I need to do this, you know. What I'm saying? I don't know. Whatever. Let's talk about the anime, which I have not watched. So why do I tell you to not watch it as well and instead read the manga? Because I just say things quite often that have no meaning. But this does have meaning. I haven't watched the anime, but I did watch some select clips, just random moments from the anime once I finished reading the manga. And there's a few points I want to hammer home as to why I think you should read it and not watch it. One thing for starters, I don't think the anime does justice to Inoue's art style. His art, I would say he's the best manga artist I've ever seen. It particularly shows off in Vagabond, which he wrote. The art in that is really freaking good, man. But the art in Slam Dunk is also really good, and the way the dynamic, just expressiveness and everything that he can capture in a single frame that just will burn into your mind. It's like, it's just, whew. But the anime, it's a little older, and it's got that sort of older anime style, which isn't necessarily bad, but like I said, I don't think it does justice to the beautifulness of the original art. And also, the way I guess it's directed, some scenes I watched seem to play out like really slowly and sort of kills a lot of the tension and doesn't seem to, once again, do justice to the original. Yes, the tension. It's not the same. Something's just off. It can't capture these big moments in the same way that the manga is able to capture them so perfectly. Also, a huge point is the anime doesn't finish. It finishes much earlier than the manga finishes. It's missing some big important things. Now, there was a recent Slam Dunk movie directed by Inoue himself that just recently come out late 2022 in Japan, I think, and that actually does adapt the final game, but it's still missing some stuff in between the end of the anime and the start of the movie. Also, the movie takes a weird route where I haven't seen the movie either. I just read some synopses and whatnot. But the movie takes a weird route where Sakuragi is not the main character. He's just a side character. Instead, it takes one of the more side characters, number 7, Ryota Miyagi. It takes him and makes him the main character and shows his backstory, some brand new content, his backstory interwoven with the final game that's shown in the manga. But it also uses the CGI style animated anime that's become so popular recently that people pretend to not hate when it's for a series that they like for whatever reason. You'll never hear anyone say it looks good, but everyone will be like, oh, when I heard it was CG, I was worried, but I think it's not that bad. It doesn't really detract from it, and they just accept it and take it up the arse. So these studios will just keep doing it and keep shoveling this shit that just looks like shit and so lifeless and just, ugh. It clearly looks worse than regularly animated shit. I don't care if it's quicker, that they want to cheap out, of course. They want to just do shit the easiest way, cheapest way, and squeeze as much money out of you saps as possible. But I won't stand for it. Fuck that shit. If you have to hire more people to make the anime, do that. You have to spend more time to make the anime, do that. And the worst thing they've done is trick the audience into accepting it as a case of, as a source of niceness, so to speak. It's morally wrong to object to it, because if you object to CGI, that means you are advocating for these poor animators to have to work overtime and have to be terrible working conditions and have to crunch. Fuck you. No. I'm not going to accept CGI anime because poor animators have to do their job. Pick a different job. And if it's such bad working conditions, then fine. Pay them more. Hire more. Spend more time on it so you don't have to, God forbid, you have to work overtime. No, don't do any of that. I don't give a shit. If the anime takes longer to come out, who cares? It'll look infinitely better. But these people just want to roll over and take it because they don't want to appear mean to the poor little animators. That's the trick that these animation companies have played. They've tricked you into not being able to speak out against the shitty looking CG anime and be forced to say, it's not that bad, it's okay, I suppose. Because you would be evil if you dare suggest otherwise because of the poor animators. Anyway, who really gives a shit? I don't care because I'm not going to watch anime anyway. I'll just read the manga because the manga's better. I don't really care. Keep churning out these shitty CG shit and keep acting like you think that actually doesn't look too bad. I was pleasantly surprised. It's a lot better than I thought, blah, 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 blah. Because I'm not going to watch it anyway. Fuck you. How about that? And you shouldn't watch it either, though. You should read the manga, not just because it looks better than the OG and obviously the CG, but also you're missing parts of the story. The art style's better. Was there any other reasons? Probably a lot. Oh, the new movie misses out some big Sakuragi moments because they made him a side character that were crucially important. And I mean, the pacing is just better in the manga in general, but that's just the general manga is better than anime me thing to say. So, whatever. But I really enjoyed Slam Dunk. It is just like it's a thrilling, captivating ride, and what a beautiful journey, and such a realistic portrayal of sports. And Sakuragi is a great character, I think, despite all his flaws. And a lot of the other characters are great too. I mean, Akagi, the big gorilla, and that's another thing. All the other teams that they introduce will also, they'll spend time to characterize all the characters. Also, an important thing I forgot to mention, a specifically very important thing for the Manga Tuesday community, the main character Sakuragi is an incel. Canonically confirmed. So, a relatable main character for all of you watching this right now. Yeah. I do think the manga would just be a much better and complete, full experience. And for a rating, I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10. Oh. I don't really know what I'm saying. So, I guess that pretty much sums things up, I suppose. So, thanks for watching, and as always, swish!
It's just another...
I think I mumbled...